Welcome, people who are listening to the JodoCast, to a new episode of the JodoCast, which we're not calling episode 100, we've just decided. This is a special Adepticon, I don't know, I don't want to say reaction, but it kind of is.
Yeah, make sure you post, like, our YouTube thumbnail is, like, one of us just making, like, a sort of face. Because that's what all those reaction videos have.
It really bugs me. I have installed a thing that hides any video with the word reaction or some variant thereof from showing to me on YouTube. But I think that's probably how my face was when all this news came out. So this is not episode 100. It is...
Yeah, Evan's not here, so it doesn't count as episode 100. That's the rules that we just made up.
Instead of Evan, joining us is Leo. We already heard.
I thought we already established that.
Yeah, but you hadn't been introduced.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
right.
This is how we have a proper protocol around here that we like to follow. And our friend Kurt, who's been on the show before.
Hello. It's
been
a while.
He's kind of our, whenever we need to talk about Armada, we like to bring him on because he owns some of it.
He actually knows how to play the game.
Yeah, not that I've played much the game. Either
We've played
recently,
before.
Yeah, last time I played the game was last year at Worlds with Kurt for the 2v2.
That's the last time I played, too. I haven't been as active, but at the same time, nothing new has come out recently, so I'm still up to date enough, I guess.
Well, it's also tough when you're, like, the only guy in town, I think, that...
Yeah. Yep.
Well, like I said, I've tried to buy that collection off of Dan, like 3 times now, and he keeps being like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that, and then he never gets back to me with the price, so maybe one day I'll have some Armada ships to play Armada with you, but don't hold your breath at the rate Dan's going.
Adepticon happened, came, it went, and things to talk about also happened there.
Stuff happened at Adepticon.
Yes. And that's what we're here for, to
talk about stuff.
Super coherent and we're going to talk about Legion. Tell you that much right now, but we're going to start with Armada. Because they had a little
Should we start with Patreon? Before
Evan,
Evan doesn't get mad at us. This is why
every time Evan's gone, we forget about this sort of stuff.
We don't know how to run a show.
Our patrons are the best, and
if you want to be the best too, you can go to patreon.com/thejodocast.
Yeah, I think there's a thing in there that says, by clicking this, you accept that you are the best. It's in the terms and conditions. Did they have like a fun name for the press conference that they did, Fantasy Flight?
I don't think so. Not that I know of.
Well, they stood there with a PowerPoint and told us things, and there were many great things that were told. They had, prior to Worlds, promised that we'd get a new announcement for Armada at Adepticon, and we got it in the form of a new campaign expansion for Armada called Rebellion in the Rim, which is what I call it after I have too much Taco Bell.
Oh no.
Oh, no. That was terrible.
I just realized there's an interdictor cruiser on the box art. I guess I hadn't looked at it too much.
Yeah, and MC-75 and a bunch of stuff in the background. It's really cool box art. But yeah, it's a new campaign box, which previously they had the Corellian conflict. The big thing that's different about this one, they talked about it being, instead of bigger than normal games like the Corellian conflict, this one will start with smaller than normal games. I think they said 200 points instead of the default 400.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And
half-size tables too, right?
Yeah,
3x3.
Yeah, 3x3. So it supports smaller, quicker games than the Corellian conflict, which is probably an advantage for a lot of people, and it'll be a little different from the other campaign. And It's not clear how similar all the campaign rules are. I think a lot of it's probably similar, but they haven't really said. The biggest difference they said for sure is that instead of equipping a specific commander card, you will actually have a custom commander, and you'll sort of use RPG rules to level up, add new abilities and traits to your commander after you do matches and stuff, and customize your guy.
And didn't they say so that this was actually developed in conjunction with some of the writers from the RPG side of things?
Yeah.
They said they worked with the RPG department, which is cool. Because I would imagine those guys know how to craft a campaign.
Yeah, that's really neat. And so there's a picture of the campaign map, and to me it looks like it's probably bigger than the Corellian conflict one. It's kind of hard to tell. It is split up into like 5 or 6 little sectors instead of one big sector, and each one probably has like 10 planets or things that you can visit. And so they haven't really said exactly how that works, but it sounds like you'll try to conquer each of these sectors until probably you have enough victory points to win or whatever. There might be one in the middle that's like the main capital thing that you're supposed to attack, which is what they had in Corellian Conflict as well. And similar to Corellian Conflict, it comes with a bunch of new objective cards, which will be usable both in the campaign and also in normal regular tournament matches, and a bunch of new unique squadron cards, and even some crew cards and titles and things like that, which is pretty cool.
What excited me the most is just that there are tokens for the space slug and the space whales, the purgils.
Yeah.
And the exogorths.
Yeah, they said that, I don't know about the space slug, I assume that will be stationary, but the purgils will actually have rules that move them across the board as the games go, which is neat. That's something I always wanted for like X-Wing.
Yeah, that part is not clear. They did show some of the objective cards, and some of those specifically reference those new obstacles. There's one where the Purgle fly around, and if they hit your ship, they will move the victory points to the other person or something, but the card itself doesn't say anything about how to move the Purgle. So I'm guessing that's like a core rule, and again, it's probably an obstacle type that you basically could use in normal play. Basically, this specific objective is going to say, when you're using this objective, use these Purgle. Maybe it'll be on multiple, we don't know. And there's a specific objective that says, something about the exogorths like come out of the asteroids if there's a ship nearby, something like that. And there's another one that has, I don't know what the token looks like, but there's some type of gravity field thing, like a black hole type thing that like pulls objectives and things into it. So there's like a bunch of different stuff in here, plus a bunch of more standard style objectives that just give you different ways to gain points or different ways to deploy than normal. So it's a lot of new content. At the same time, a lot of people heard that and they were like, this is not a new ship, therefore FFG sucks because I was promised a ship, not a campaign box. And, some people never liked the original campaign box because they basically said, this is a waste of money. It's $30 for some a bunch of new cards and a bunch of new cardboard for my ships and a whole new campaign style. What a ripoff. So some people are saying that about this one as well, but I think it looks really cool. I'm really excited, even if I never get to play it.
I did enjoy some of the comments though, because there was on like some of the articles and things like that were posted, because there were Armada people who were like, no new ships. And then they're like, this is the worst thing ever. Armada always gets the short shaft. And then Imperial Assault people were like, yeah, they didn't even have an Imperial Assault guy there at the presentation, so shut up.
One guy asked an Imperial Assault question, like, we don't work on that game, we can't answer that question, sorry.
But what they did say about the ships is that some new ships will be announced. I think they said specifically soon they will be announced. So I would guess most likely that will be Clone Wars ships, which they've teased before, but I guess we'll see.
It seems likely to me that, given what's happening with Legion and X-Wing, that Armada will get that too. Cause
they've been coy with it, but they've always like non-answered in a way that's basically said, yes, we are making them, because people ask and they'll be like, yeah, well, we can't really talk about our plans for Clone Wars, but I will say there's more new ships coming out soon.
Yeah.
Like that's like, so.
And there's not, there's not too many. They're not out of ships in the Galactic Civil War era, but if they bust open the Clone Wars, there's a whole bunch they can do.
Yeah,
and
we'll have to see what ends up
like,
being announced. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I'm more into the original trilogy ships, Dornian gunships, and the whatever acclimator or whatever the thing was from Solo. A bunch of those things I think would be cool to get first, but most likely I feel like they're probably going to do Clone Wars.
Do you really want that goofy ship?
Yeah, I think.
Acclimator
I mean,
or the Dornian, they're both goofy.
I love them both.
The Dornian amuses me because it was a background ship in Return of the Jedi that got maybe half a second of screen time. And then
you can barely see it. It's like in a few frames, and if you're not looking for it, you won't know it's there.
Yeah, they found it in the archives, and they're like, ooh, we're going to digitize this. We're going to put it into the space battle on Rogue One. This is going to be great. This is a fun little thing we can do. So they put it in Rogue One, and the guys who did that, they went to the guy who originally designed the ship for Return of the Jedi, the model builder. I don't remember his name. And they're like, hey, look, we got this ship, and we put it in Rogue One. It lives. That thing you made. Isn't this great? And he's like, why would you do that? It's so ugly. He's like, it should have stayed dead.
No, I meant the goofy thing that was like originally a piece of, like Star Destroyer concept art.
Oh,
it's not Acclimator. I should remember the name.
Yeah, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's like every time I look at that, I'm like, yeah, that was a piece of concept art that got abandoned for a reason, in my opinion. I don't like the look of it.
Arrestor cruiser. It's called an Arrestor cruiser.
Concept art never gets abandoned forever in Star Wars. It'll come back somehow.
And I think it's cool. It's got that classic look.
It looks 50s.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I mean 60s.
Yeah, it looks like, it looks like the cover, like it came off the cover of an old pulp sci-fi novel. Which
it looks like, if there was an episode of the original Star Trek series where they crossed over with Star Wars, but they had the Star Trek people make all the stuff.
In any case, I don't think they would do that anytime soon, especially since these waves are going to be so far apart now for Armada. If they're going to do Clone Wars, it's either going to be now or it's going to be in a couple years or something. So I feel like that's probably what they would do next.
Unless they think all of the player base is kind of in your boat where you're like, not that into it. Which is something I thought they had assumed about all of their customers for all of their games up until they announced it for X-Wing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe their audience is just enough of the younger people have gotten into the hobby now where they feel safer introducing those things. Or maybe I'm always just too cynical about board game hobbyists being older men who are grumpy about the prequels.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mix.
I feel like people were like yelling about Clone Wars like almost from the very beginning with X-Wing, because I remember like at almost like every kind of like in-flight report and stuff like that they would give, invariably someone would be like, "When's Clone Wars stuff coming?" And they'd be like, "We have no plans for Clone Wars at all. Shut up." They wouldn't tell them to shut up, but it's like they always made it very clear that like they had zero interest in Clone Wars. So I don't know if it was just, I don't know what it was.
Maybe it was a leadership change at Fantasy Flight, or maybe it was them just seeing. Maybe it was the eruption of prequel memes where they're like, "Oh, there's a market for this stuff."
Or I wonder if it could be a licensing thing, like they had to specifically get a deal with Disney before they could cover prequel stuff. I don't know.
No, but I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. But I think a fair number of people have been asking for Clone Wars ships for Armada. Just as many have been asking for EU stuff that's never going to happen. I don't know, dreadnoughts or Haven battle dragons or something. But anyways, I'm sure we'll see in a few months.
I would field a fleet of Haven battle dragons. Also those weird ships that looked like wasps. What the hell were they called? I don't remember. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the wasp ones.
Yeah. Those are the ones.
Well, let's... Worlds happened for Armada. Is there anything worth noting about that?
Yeah, if you want, I can go into some of the high-level statistics on what people were flying and stuff like that.
Let's keep it very high level.
Well, I'll just say a couple things. So the most popular admiral per faction was actually Thrawn for the Imperials, which I was a little surprised by. He's very powerful, but he's also kind of hard to use, so I didn't know that he was growing that popular yet, but he was the most popular. And the most popular for Rebels was, of course, Raikan, because even with a nerf, he's still very good, but Radis was very close behind, too. He's also very good. And the most popular ships were pretty obvious, like the flotillas, of course, are so cheap that everyone takes them, and the cheap things for Rebels, Hammerheads, and Corellian Corvettes were the most popular, while, of course, Imperial-class Star Destroyers were the most popular for Empire. As far as the winner, it ended up being Empire for the first time ever for Armada, and it was Empire versus Rebels, and it was two very squadron-focused lists. It was an Admiral Sloan list and a General Raikan list. And, I'm not as in tune to the meta as some people, but I thought they were both kind of interesting. They don't use quite the same ships and upgrades as some of the old winning lists. Like the Rebel list did not have the Nebulon B frigate Yavaris, which is kind of been a mainstay, but it actually wasn't in that many lists this year, which is kind of interesting. And the Imperial list was all small ships. Well, the Quasar Fire was the biggest ship in the list. Not like a Star Destroyer at all in that list, which is pretty interesting. But basically most of them, like the main focus of each list in that case was a bunch of unique squadrons that go in. But yeah, it was a previous world champion, Nathan Koda, and then the new world champion is Dennis Raschke, which I think I read he might be from Germany, or at least he's a German Nationals winner. But yeah. That's basically that.
That's kind of neat that it's what year of Armada Worlds is this? 5? 6?
I think the first one was 2015. So it's the fifth one. This would be the fifth one. Yeah. And everyone before now has been Empire. Rebels, if I remember that right.
Speaking of interesting, balanced final matches, the Imperial Assault Worlds happened as well. Obviously there's no new news for that game, but they had Worlds, and the top 16 was 12 Spectre cells.
Mm-hmm.
And the final was 2 Spectre cells. But interestingly enough, the 3-time world champion Daniel Taylor was dethroned by Brett Kelly.
And it was a very close list. It was very tense to watch. They did not have an official stream or even a camera stream at all. So it was a vassal stream where someone there was trying to copy the moves and type in chat very quickly about what things happened. But even in that format, it was very exciting and tense. It was very close where they would kill one and then the other guy would kill one. And the whole time, basically Brett was a little bit behind like the whole match more or less, and I kept saying like, oh man, I don't think he's going to be able to get it. His guys keep dying off, and then the last second he finished off a couple guys and had initiative to take out Zeb at the last second and win. So I think it was 40-31. It was just very close. Wow. Very, very interesting match. But it was Spectres versus Spectres.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens if they adjust that meta ever.
Yeah, I think a nerf is really due for Spectre Cell.
Man, remember when we used to get to watch the world finals of these games on Fantasy Flight's Twitch stream, and they had nice setup and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's really
we're
too
too
bad.
busy streaming Outer Rim previews.
Yeah, I had
you still have to watch that.
I had the opportunity to sign up for a ticket for Worlds, and I thought about it for a long time. I ended up not going. I didn't want to drive. I really didn't want to face a bunch of Spectre cells, and they don't have as many side events and all this stuff. So I ended up not going. Sometimes this weekend, watching some of the streams and the announcements and stuff, I kind of wished I had gone. It would have been cool to get the prizes and stuff, but oh well. That's how it went, I guess.
Well, now let's get to the good stuff. I think we all kind of saw this coming, but it nonetheless, it's so cool.
Yeah.
They announced a new core set for Legion, which you probably know, but it's the Clone Wars Legion core set. Doesn't actually say that on the box.
Yeah, it just says Star Wars Legion.
It looks exactly the same, just with different art, and presumably the contents are different.
Yeah.
They announced the new core set.
On the actual product page, it calls it the Clone Wars core set, though.
Okay. 2 expansions, a Clone Trooper expansion and a Battle Droid expansion, which are just more of the units that come in the box. And let's start with the most boring one, which is still actually kind of interesting, but not compared to the other stuff. The upgrade card pack. They are going to be releasing a card pack. That's it. It just comes with upgrade cards.
So if you're one of these guys who decides to jump into the game here with Clone Wars, because I know there's at least a few people out there who weren't interested in playing Galactic Civil War armies, and they said, okay, if they ever release Clone Wars, I'll jump in then at that point. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is, there's going to be a lot of cool upgrades out there that are going to be in units that you don't have, that you might want. Now, I'm sure as time goes on, eventually some of the Separatist units and the Republic units are going to start getting they're going to get some of these older upgrades in their packs.
But
I would think so. Yeah, but for the time being, these upgrade pack cards or these upgrade card packs are a great way for those people to get a hold of cards that they normally wouldn't be able to have. There's for the most part, it's all older cards. With the exception of aggressive tactics and force guidance are two upgrades that are actually coming in with the Clone Wars stuff.
And there's also electro binoculars and linked targeting array.
Yep. Forgot about those.
But yeah, it's like 60 cards or 60-ish for $10, and presumably they will have more like this in the future too, probably.
Right, and they had suggested, we're not saying we are, but we kind of are. We'll be doing something similar for X-Wing.
It's interesting to see because in the past, people have always asked for something like this. Can I just get upgrade cards? And they've kind of always said that they weren't really into that type of product. So it's kind of a first. I
distinctly remember, I think it was at a store championships or regionals at Paradox the year that Alex Davey came to just kind of have a little pizza party with us. I distinctly remember him saying that was, obviously at the time, not something that they would do. He said if there wasn't, a plastic thing in it, they weren't going to make a product for it. They were going to do cards only. They had to move, miniatures. So this is exciting, and I look forward to them doing more like this. Especially for X-Wing, Because I think there's, then it'll be easier to even pick and choose what ships you want to get if you can grab those upgrades.
Although in 2.0, it needs it less, since every ship already seems to come with 100 copies of every card that you already have a million copies of.
There are some... Me, as a Rebel-only player, I think there were a couple cards that only came in I think there's a gunner that only came in the Lando's Falcon so far.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have access to.
Yeah.
So that would be neat. And even in the future, if there's like a new ship coming out, like the K-Wing, and I'm just like, I don't want that ship, it's ugly, then I can just get those cards somewhere else. It seems very consumer-friendly to be doing it this way.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of being friendly to me, the Clone Wars core set, it looks so cool.
The sculpts are all really good. The art's cool.
So, yeah, the sculpts are amazing. So, first of all, what's in the box is everything like what is in the original core set, except the dudes, obviously.
Yeah, so like all your tokens and
barricades, range
finders and movement tools, all that stuff. All that stuff is going to be unchanged from the other core sets. So, nothing new. I mean, obviously, with the exception of the fact that you're going to have, not Rebel and Imperial tokens. Right. Yeah, I mean, there's the Surge tokens, and then they're also finally bringing out suppression tokens with a value of 3. So when someone's laying down a lot of suppression, you don't have to have an entire mountain of suppression tokens on the table.
And even the generic command cards are identical. They have new artwork, which looks really neat, but they're the same. They didn't want... If somebody who's been playing doesn't want to get this new stuff, there's nothing in this box that they'll feel like they're missing out on.
Yeah, it's like the same objective cards from the looks of it, all that type of stuff.
Yep. All the battle plan cards are exactly the same.
Yeah. So there's no like cards that any faction could use that you'd be like, oh, I need that, which is neat. And it's what 2 core units, 1 kind of support unit, and a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was. So, did we expect that it would be Obi-Wan and Grievous?
That's sort of what I guessed it was going to be. I guess that's sort of what I assumed it was going to be the whole time.
Yeah, seemed the most likely. And, Droidekas were something that everyone wanted from the start. I think the Bark Speeder, I hadn't expected.
Just kind of was assuming familiar. Just an ATRT again, which I guess would have been... that's what I would have expected, but even if it would have been a little boring.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go with the ATRT again. I mean, we know that obviously at some point the Republic is going to get ATRTs. But yeah, it would have kind of sucked for them to put the ATRT in the core set again.
The Bark Speeder is cool because it's got a little sidecar with the guy with his gun, and it rotates. I don't know if it has any gameplay necessity to turn your... maybe you have to rotate them so you can go front arc, right arc, or rear arc, and you got a blind spot on your left. But
it's probably just to look cool.
Yeah.
So the sidecar though is totally optional. You don't have to build that on the model. If you don't have the sidecar on, the Bark will have a speed 3. If you do put the sidecar on, that drops its speed down to 2. But then there's 3 different weapon options that you'll be able to use for the gunner in the sidecar. They haven't said what they are. I assume they're going to be very similar though to the ATRT, where you get like some sort of like flamethrower, laser cannon, and like a machine gun type one.
Yeah. The Droidekas, filling that kind of same space for the Separatists, they have... So it's what, 2... Is it 1 Droideka per unit, or is it 2 Droidekas per unit?
I
2?
I thought it was just 1. Like, from what I understand is you get 4 Droideka miniatures, but really you're only going to have 2 you would only have 2 out at a time.
Right,
because there's 2 different sculpts for it. One where it's in droid mode and the other one where it's in wheel mode. And like when you go into wheel mode, they made it, at least the way Alex Davey was talking, he made it sound like you would pick up the droid and put the wheel mode mini down on the board.
Yeah, that's how I expect it's going to go. And obviously, when you're in wheel mode, you'll probably be very fast but very vulnerable. And when you're in shooty mode, you'll probably have a bunch of shield tokens, but, speed 1 or something.
Yeah, but the fact that it comes with 2 of each implies, to me, it's a squad of 2, at least based on the other core set where you only got 1 support unit, not a set of 2.
It's probably kind of like the speeder bike where it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, like, I would think that too, but like I said, Alex Davey was talking about picking the one up off the board and putting the other one on when you changed modes.
Yeah, I just figure, you have 2 standing and 2 rolling, and so it's probably a unit that has 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
is what I meant.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
You could probably get away with running all 4 at once if you made sure that 2 were always rolling and 2 were always shooting.
Well, yeah, in a casual game, no one would probably care if
yeah.
it matched anyways, but yeah.
Yeah, and then... So for the Separatists, then, it's just obviously B1 battle droids for their core unit. And their core units, and the battle droids are kind of hilarious because they're terrible, which, we all sort of assumed they would be.
But...
You get a lot of them for cheap.
Yeah, you get a lot of them.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 come in the box, and
and you can field up to 8 of them at a time.
Yeah, their base size is 6, and you can get a heavy weapon and the extra personnel.
And it's 6 guys for 36 points, which is still cheaper.
That's 4 points cheaper than a Stormtrooper unit.
But you're rolling white dice on attack and defense, and you have no surges.
And if they don't have a face-up order token, they have to make an attack as their first action, if that's an option.
But they also have this coordinate thing. After you're issued an order, you may issue an order to a friendly droid trooper unit at range 1. So they can... take a few orders and pass them out to everyone.
So they basically always have, everybody has comms relay, sort of.
That seems really neat. Like if they're in a big cluster, you play ambush, but all of a sudden your whole army has the
exactly.
Anyways.
Could be really cool.
So this is implying to me that these are still the Episode 1 era B1s where they're controlled by a central command ship, and therefore... if you want to win, you just have to go off the board to find that control computer and shut it down.
Yep. You have to play a game of Armada to destroy...
Well, they have the N1, or the N1 is coming to X-Wing, so you just got to find one and see if it comes with the baby Anakin pilot. The sculpts for the B1s look great, and this is a big deal with the new...
Yeah.
With half of the new miniatures, I guess. Because
they're hard plastic on sprues. Which is... It's sort of weird that they only converted half... That they're only doing it to start with half of the core set here. But whatever, I guess. But at any rate, all the Separatist units are going to be hard plastic on sprues. And now going forward, every expansion that gets released after this is all going to be hard plastic on sprues. And they also are planning on eventually going back and re-releasing all the previous expansions with all hard plastic, which means I'm going to have to buy at least one of everything all over again.
So explain to people like me and probably other people, what's the big deal between the hard plastic on sprues and what I assume is soft plastic in the baggies that we've had up until now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I still wouldn't necessarily call the old Legion stuff, well, I mean, it is softer plastic, but it's still more sturdy than, say, like Imperial Assault or whatever. But the hard plastic, for one of the biggest things is you can get a lot more detail in those. You have a lot more options for poses. Because I don't like, that's one thing they talked about back when Legion was first coming out, is the change in materials and size from Imperial Assault to Legion was partially so they could do more dynamic, interesting poses. And while now moving to hard plastic is going to increase that ability even more for the sculptors.
Does this mean you'll be able to use plastic glue instead of super glue now, if that's something you care about?
Probably.
Because I remember when the game came out, there was like a little note that said, don't use plastic glue, it won't work. And nobody read that, and everyone was like, my glue doesn't work. Well, it's magic, it doesn't stick.
But yeah, I mean, probably, I guess. I mean, all I know is that the plastic glue did not react with the particular other type of plastic that Legion used to be made out of. I assume that won't be the case anymore, but they haven't said anything, so who knows?
Yeah.
So the Separatists are going to be lots and lots and lots of bodies who all kind of suck. But if you have enough of them, that you should that's good enough.
Yeah, you're just rolling a lot of dice, and essentially just always crit fishing.
Yeah. The Republic seems to be kind of the exact opposite of that, where their units seem like, and I think they mentioned in their reveal discussion, the Republic is going to be a lot more about quality over quantity, where even compared to Empire and Rebels, their people are a lot more expensive, but they're really good.
Like the base clone troopers is it's a 4-unit mini, so similar to your stormtroopers or rebel troopers, but they cost 52 points, which is a lot more than
yeah, it's 12 points more.
Yeah.
But
12 points more.
They have red defense dice and black attack dice, so they're like the best of both worlds. So they're really good.
But still no surges, so.
Yeah, that's true. And their ability is kind of interesting, fire support. So basically, if you have a face-up order token, when another squad's attacking, you can combine all of your guns into one huge attack pool and then flip both your order tokens over and get like this huge alpha strike. It could be pretty crazy, maybe. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Another interesting thing that they actually don't talk about in the article, but I know Alex Davey mentioned it during the stream that the Fifth Trooper podcast was doing of the games at Adepticon. He came on and he talked to him for a while, and they were just sort of talking about the new units, and he mentioned that the clone troopers, or if you look at them, their unit type, instead of just being a trooper, they are a clone trooper. So they're a different subset of trooper, sort of like the emplacement troopers or whatever. But apparently clone troopers have the ability to share green tokens, like say one of your units makes an attack with an aim token, doesn't spend their aim. Normally now that's just a wasted action that you had, which kind of sucks. But with these clone troopers, they'll essentially be able to pass that aim token over to the next unit that is attacking by them.
They pass them around, or I thought I heard that you could just spend the tokens of somebody else within range 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like, is you just spend. I mean, we don't have the exact rules yet, so. And
speaking of the looks like the droids have, it says droid trooper as their keyword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So who knows? There might be some special rules, like maybe they'll even be able to be ionized or something like that, which would be
they
interesting.
can't be. Maybe they just. I'm assuming they won't be able to be treated if you have some kind of medical thing.
And long term, we might see non-droid troops for that faction, and then they won't work with those ones. Like,
Umbarans or something.
Geonosians, or a lot of options maybe.
I think one of the coolest things for me in this box, the big box, is Grievous.
He looks really cool.
So let's see, with Grievous, I think, do you have choice how you pose his legs? In any case, you can choose to give him all 4 arms out, or 2 arms, or maybe the arms split on one side, together on the other. Or give him a pistol. He's got, I think, 1 arm comes with a pistol. You get a cape. There's so many variations you could put into gluing your Grievous together.
And honestly, they all look really cool too.
Right. And I'm thinking, if I'm going to get 2 core sets, I'm going to do one where he's got all 4 out without a cape, and I'm going to do one where he's got his cape and maybe 2 or 1 and a pistol, and just play whichever one I feel like that day. I really, really like the Obi-Wan sculpt too. It's
that
less
classic
exciting
pose.
because you're like, oh, I got all these choices putting together, but the Obi-Wan, he's got the Clone Wars armor, which I'm a sucker for, and he's got the Obi-Wan pointing at you pose. It looks great. I can't wait to paint that one. Before this was officially announced, because X-Wing I'm only buying Rebel stuff. For Legion, I've been only buying Rebel stuff. I'm like, okay, I know this is coming. I'm going to buy the Republic when it comes out for X-Wing and do Republic and Rebels, and the Separatists when it comes out for Legion and do Separatist and Rebels. And then I saw all this stuff, and now I'm saying, screw the Republic and X-Wing. I'm buying both for Legion. I can't not have that Obi-Wan. And especially because the Republic is going to be less minis on the board, typically. And, once more operatives and commanders come out, I'll just say screw it and run, beefy Obi-Wan, beefy Anakin, operative Ahsoka, or whatever. And, have a very small number of minis on the table, so then I won't get so annoyed painting all the clone troopers.
It'll be interesting to see how they compete with some of the other factions, because right now, at least in competitive Legion, something like 9 or 10 activations, probably at least 10, is kind of considered a minimum for an army. If you have less than that, you're probably not going to win in a competitive setting.
Why isn't there a pass rule yet in this game? Why wasn't there when it came out? They saw how Imperial Assault needed it. As far as I've heard, every other alternating activation war game has something similar.
Well, Armada doesn't either, but they did eventually add a few upgrade cards that are okay, if you have this crew guy, then you can say, well, I'm going to go first this round, even though I don't actually have initiative, and stuff like that. And
if you're unfamiliar with the idea of the pass roll, which if you've only played Legion, you might be. Let's say you have 10 activations because you're smart and built a good list. I have 5 activations on my team. Normally, you go, I go, you go, I go. Until I'm out, all of a sudden you've got 5 guys who can just run around and they don't have to worry about anything because all my guys are done. If we have a pass rule, you go, I get to say pass. You go again, I get to say pass. Until we both have 5 left. And then nobody can say pass. In the past, I've seen people, when I've argued that this game needs it, people are but they didn't seem to realize you can only say pass if you have less ready people. Once you're even, no one's allowed to pass.
And I do think to some extent it matters a little less in Legion than Imperial Assault, since you have the order tokens and you have to draw some of them randomly, but it still is somewhat of a factor for sure. I don't really see why it would be a problem to add a pass rule,
Right. You just need to word it so people understand exactly how it works. But I think it's needed. And I think if they did that, maybe with what happened with Imperial Assault, people might start leaning into less activations and more upgrades or more fancy trickery rather than just pure number superiority.
Yeah, well,
especially if that's how the Separatists are going to be. If the Separatists are going to be, here's 10 million activations of battle droids, they better see if that's, not going to just sway the meta really weird.
Yeah, it really remains to be seen if it's going to be super good or not. I mean, kind of like you were saying, before now, I had kind of been assuming I would do droids, and they look super cool, but at the same time, I know that rolling all white dice is going to be super annoying, so I'd almost rather do Republic and just always roll good dice and have less stuff on the table. But the fact that it's coming as a core set with both factions in there, no matter what, I'm going to be tempted to say, you know what, I already have, half an army or whatever, let me buy a few more and I'll have 2 armies instead of 1. So it's very tempting.
If nothing else, a lot of the droids and stuff should be pretty easy to paint. I mean, like for the battle droids, it's like, paint them tan, throw a wash on them, dry brush over, and you're done.
Yeah, that's my thinking. I can take my sweet time with the unique figures like Grievous and whoever else comes out, and the B1s, you just go as fast as you can, and they'll still look fine. I'm
such a sucker for weathering and stuff, though. I'm gonna want to put all these metal chips on them and stuff. Oh, I think they'll look really cool. And I love, from playing Battlefront, there's a lot of different color options too. You could have one squad be light brown and one be more of a red brown, or maybe only the heavy weapon guy is a darker brown, and you can do stripes and different stuff.
Like put the chest piece of the unit, make that yellow, or give them a little yellow circle on their head. There's a lot of I still intend to do all that. I still think they'll be very quick to paint. Yeah.
And the fact is they have less surface area and less details than most troopers. They don't have belts and separate colored backpacks and all these things.
Right.
They're basically their gun is the only thing that's different from their body. So should be really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they did say that the droids are going to be really posable as well too. So it makes it sound so I don't know if there's going to be a bunch of alternate limbs on the sprues, or if just the way they're going to attach this time will let you reposition legs a little bit or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see, because with the Rebel troopers, I've done a lot of custom posing, and you can do green stuff, to fill in the shoulder or whatever, because it's just smooth. You won't really be able to do that, in my opinion, with a droid without having being super obvious. But if they just have all those options built in, that'll be great.
Maybe for the shoulders they'll have ball sockets, because I know they've already said that Grievous's arms are on ball sockets, so you'll be able to readjust his arms to your heart's content, essentially.
Yeah, I think that would be for the best.
I think it's kind of funny that the clone troopers are essentially getting the 2 best heavy weapon options from both the Rebels and the Imperials.
Because they just have the same Z6 that the Rebels have.
Yeah, they have the exact same Z6, and then their other heavy weapon is a DC-15 rifle, which
we can see it's 2 red and 1 to 4.
Yeah, so it's essentially a DLT. It's just it has the critical keyword instead of the impact keyword.
It just changes a hit to a crit.
Oh,
but that kind of ends up working
the
same. Okay. It's actually kind of better.
Right,
works on everything.
Oh yeah, it is better. It's just totally better.
Yeah, and we can see they have some type of smoke grenade that puts out some kind of smoke token that does something.
If I had to guess, I think that's probably they cover themselves in smoke. I bet it's you just put that token next to them and that gives them cover or something.
Yeah, this says something about line of sight.
It says a smoke token within range, blah, and then line of sight. And I'm sure there's going to be rules for how much area that smoke token covers.
Yeah, it could be really interesting. We can see for the droids, they come with electro binoculars. It looks like it just gives you the spotter keyword, hand out aim tokens.
Which they'll need.
Yes.
Yep. And then there's some kind of hidden comm upgrade, which I would assume is that the one that comes in the upgrade pack, that linked firing system.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it was?
That would make sense, which, based on the name, is probably like you get to share your aim tokens or something, right? I would think.
Yeah, something like that.
And we can see part of their heavy weapons not real good. They have a 1 to 3 that's at least 3 black, and they have a 2 to 4 rocket launcher that's at least red, black, black with impact 2. But we can't see most of
Probably
it.
will exhaust also. We can't see that part, but judging from all these similar weapons to it, it will probably exhaust.
And also, I just noticed the battle droids do not have a grenade slot on their cards. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they also don't have a gear slot, so you can't give them any gear other than electrobinoculars. Electrobinoculars specifically say that battle droids can take them in their comm slot.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And then if you look at the sort of the fan of all the stuff, the tokens and stuff they come with, you'll also see that they both come with a brand new type of token that we've never seen before, and that's the Surge token, which, if I remember right from what they said during their talk, is essentially you just spend the Surge token to convert one of your dice to either a hit or a block. Or does it just add a hit or a block to your?
I thought it's just you convert one of your surges to whatever it is.
That's what it sounded like. Since these units don't have a surge,
since they don't actually have the surge,
they don't surge. Yeah, so if you roll a surge, you can spend that token to actually make it worthwhile.
But I don't think we ever learned. I don't know if it's a new action. How you even get it?
Yeah. If it's from them, or if maybe it'll be like Obi-Wan and Grievous will be able to hand them out somehow. In some way.
I don't know.
That could be.
But since it comes in the expansion boxes, you'd think it'd be something they could do. So maybe it's just a new action.
True. Maybe that's, And you just made me realize, I think I feel the most frustrated that we don't have any glimpse of Obi-Wan or Grievous's cards.
What their stats are.
I want to know how much health they are. I want to know Obi-Wan rolling 5 red defense dice for everything.
Well, these things aren't coming out till Q3, so sometime around. I wouldn't be surprised if they do like early sales at Adepticon and then general release right after. At Gen Con and then general release right after Adepticon. So they need material for more preview articles between now and then.
All we can see about them is the names of a couple of their command cards, but we can't see any of the text.
Which spectacularly, Obi-Wan has one called Hello There.
Yeah.
And then Grievous has one called General Kenobi.
No, that's Obi-Wan's. If you look at the picture in the top right.
Whoops. Did I? Or they're both for his? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking the one was Grievous. But anyways,
Grievous's are called Supreme Commander and Crush Them.
Yeah, there we go.
What if he has another one that says, make them suffer?
I wonder if he'll have something that like lets him escape or something, right? That would be away. In character.
Like if you have one...
Your General Grievous runs off the edge of the board.
You don't actually... He's not defeated. He's just removed from play. Like, they don't get the points for him.
He can redeploy somewhere else, maybe.
No, he doesn't come back.
He
just runs away like General Grievous do.
I got it right here. Here's a free one for you, Alex Davey, Luke Eddy. Reprint these if they've already started printing. He gets an ability just called runs and hides, like he always does. It says, if General Grievous flees the battlefield, or whatever the terminology is for leaving the play space, you just take his points rounded down when he's defeated, which actually isn't great because those points typically don't matter. Never mind.
The one thing that's kind of strange is that there were no heavy units announced for either faction.
As expansions.
Also, they're not, at this time, they're not releasing either of the 2 support units as expansions to launch alongside the core set.
Yeah, so compared to the original release, the Wave 1 will have a bit less stuff in it.
Yeah, it's only going to be the core set and then an expansion for each of the core units. So the Phase 1 clone troopers and the B1s, which is a little strange to me.
It's going to be a lot harder to get a full army up and going right away. Unless you buy 2 core or something.
Well, that's my plan.
maybe it has something to do with them switching their manufacturing over from the soft plastic to the hard plastic.
That could be.
Could be. But yeah, either way, it does kind of stink. Yeah, because it'll be a while before you'll really be able to feel the full army, I guess. I mean, unless you're one of those crazy people who's going to go buy like 3 core sets. I mean, I'm only going to buy 2. I'm not that crazy.
Okay, well, I think we've covered all of the exciting stuff from Adepticon. I've got a feeling we're going to be talking and raving over these new upcoming Legion expansions for a long time.
Yeah.
But let's already speculate next wave of content beyond these guys.
Now, are we talking like next wave of just Clone Wars stuff or
yeah?
Because that is one thing we should point out is they did make sure to say yes, there is still going to be Galactic Civil War era units continuing to come out. It's just going to be at a slower pace than they had been. Mm-hmm. So that's actually good news for the wallets of
people who
factions.
Maybe aren't going to pick these up.
Well, for droids, it's got to be super battle droids, right? They're right on the box art even.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Super battle droids will be. Do you think the B2s will be like another core unit, or will they be like a support?
Yeah,
I feel like they'll be special forces, but
maybe
I could see them being core.
Yeah, but like infiltrator droids will definitely be
the
special
droids.
Forces. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see the B2s being core, honestly. I mean, some of the Clone Wars episodes I was just watching, they're deploying like a ship full, like these huge ranks full of B2, so it seems like something you'd want a lot of.
More fun gameplay wise if they were core.
Yeah.
So you could have more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just make them the same as the regular battle droids, give them a red defense die, color code.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see, because these clone troopers are specifically called Phase 1 clone troopers.
Yeah.
I feel like it might be a few products in between until we see the Phase 2 ones.
Yeah, I feel like the Phase 2 will probably end up... I mean, they're probably going to be sort of like the veterans or whatever. You know, like the Rebel veterans that just got announced alongside the Tauntauns.
So maybe we'd see like ARC troopers or something, or what do you think? For like the second wave.
I think we're going to see Anakin and Dooku commanders.
Sure.
I think that'll be the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
like Ahsoka and Ventress as operatives, maybe?
Yeah, I could see those being operatives or commanders. Whichever one they'd pick, I think it would work fine.
I don't know. I feel like they sort of have to have... well, like, I wouldn't be surprised if technically probably the next wave after this will probably be separate expansions for the 2 supports that are in the core set.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And then, but they've got to get some kind of heavy out there for those factions, you would think.
Yeah, like maybe like a spider droid.
Yeah, that's
some type of tank.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on what sort of.
Obviously, an AT-TE, while not as big as an AT-AT, is probably still too big for them to bother with in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still quite large. I mean, they would still be what, like a foot and a half long on the table, something like that.
Maybe not quite, but still pretty big.
What about those like laser tanks that they had on Geonosis that shot down the spheres? Are those really big or not?
Those ones I think are yes, but in the show they have some little like speeder hover guys that have the same weapon that are much smaller. They almost that there's definitely probably a lot of options that I'm not thinking of.
Yeah.
There's a couple other walker type vehicles that the clones had that were in a couple background scenes in Revenge of the Sith and in the TV show. There's like a 2-legged walker one, not the ATRT, but I forget what it's called. It's an AT something.
And then for droids, I know I just said the spider droid, but probably they would see the repulsor tank thing as like more iconic, right? So maybe that'll be first.
Yeah.
AAT for sure.
Yeah.
And then maybe the snail.
That's
droid.
pretty. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What about vulture droids, man?
Walking around.
Yeah.
Or flying.
Well, if they've got the two different sculpts for two different modes of transport for the droidica, so they release a pack about the same size as the T-47 because the vulture droids aren't that big.
Yeah, they're pretty small.
But T-47s are tiny.
It comes with two sculpts, one for in-flight and one for on the ground. And then, there's rules where you swap them out between flight mode and walking mode. Scale-wise, I think vulture droids would work fine. They'd be maybe a little bigger than a T-47, same size. I don't know, they're not that big.
And the other option would be like, I mean, maybe they'll do non-clone or non-droid stuff. I don't know if they would do it right away, but, maybe we would see like Naboo defense contractor guys, those security guys, because they're kind of iconic. They're in the movies. And maybe we'd see like Geonosians or something early. I don't know.
Geonosians would be great.
Maybe.
I feel like, could see Geonosians and Umbarans.
But maybe, I don't know if they'd be an early thing or a later thing. I don't know. I'm not sure how FFG sees it.
I think they got to kind of start with, include one or two more kind of recognizable things in each release before they start jumping to the stuff that maybe filthy casuals would scratch their head at.
So I just checked, at least in flight mode, a vulture droid is about 1.5 meters, or sorry, 1.5 meters longer than a T-47.
So yeah, not that big. Certainly, if you look at the miniatures that just came out for X-Wing, I mean, they're tiny. They're smaller than an A-Wing. It's crazy.
Ooh, I want one thing. There's tactical droids and super tactical droids, which would obviously fit the place of the generic commander unit.
Yeah, for sure.
Or, the personnel commander unit. So maybe if we see a specialist pack, we'll see those, and I would love some unique super tactical droid like what's it?
Kraken.
There's Kraken, but the one that comes to mind is, I think his name is Kalani. He's the one who is in Rebels, the one who thought the war was still going.
Yeah. And
he was also in an episode of the Clone Wars, and it wasn't my favorite arc. I didn't care for the arc very much. It was the one about Onderon, but I really liked that droid because he just point blanks a guy, and it just gets me every time.
And I'm sure we'll see like the Magna Guards as sort of like a Royal Guard equivalent. And I always remember in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, they had like these IG droids with like lances, and they're like riding speeders and jousting.
Speeders, yeah.
That could be cool. So cool. Yeah, those guys definitely have been nowhere in canon. Yeah. But
same thing with what was that big huge dude?
Dirge,
yeah, he's not.
He would be cool.
Either, is he?
No, he's not. He was almost in the Clone Wars. The reason he didn't make it into that show was one, George decided he wanted kind of a more cowboy, Clint Eastwood kind of guy, and they came up with Cad Bane. And two, because he's like full of worms. Like that's his body is like a bunch of just worms. that was too technically, they couldn't animate it. Like, it was going to be too much for them, so they were like, we needed a more normal-looking guy, and so they made Cad Bane.
Yeah, maybe we'll get him someday, though. That'd be cool.
And then we're going to probably get Cad Bane in the game. Maybe, probably Django. See, I'm curious.
Yeah, Django would make sense, since he's in the movie.
Right. Darth Maul is the one I'm going to be very curious to see if we get.
Yeah,
and
I
if
could
we
see
do, is that going to be before or after characters like Ventress and Cad Bane? Because obviously in Battlefront always puts them in the Clone Wars things, even in the older games. Technically, Darth Maul is, he died way before the Clone Wars started. He even says in the show, he's like, so it started without me. Which, I think it would be cool to have him. It'll be fun to play with him. It's obviously not a big deal in any of the video games. And I wonder if maybe the guys at Fantasy Flight feel like he deserves to be there or not. Yoda's never showed up in Imperial Assault, which Yoda doesn't do anything in the war. Neither did Darth Maul. But,
I could really see Darth Maul, as long as they make him an operative rather than a commander. I think it makes perfect sense, because he was adjacent to the Trade Federation armies, and he worked for Sidious and all this stuff, so I think it fits.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like an alternate history, sort of, but I think it fits.
None of the stuff that, it's not.
But I would really love Asajj,
Remember,
too. She's
everything
cool.
that happens on your table is canon.
For sure.
Ventress is going to be a good one.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. It's not something I would have been excited for a couple years ago.
I'm honestly looking
forward
to
it.
painting all the different Jedi. Like, I'm not looking forward to painting any clones, because
No.
Because I've already got a pile of dudes in white armor with tiny little gaps that I have to fill in with black. But painting all the Jedis, I think, will be cool.
But now you have so many canon squad options, like I don't remember all the numbers that are in Battlefront.
They're gonna have to release like a clone codex, and then depending on what squad markings you paint on your clones, they have different stats. Just like Space Marines.
What'll be fun?
What
we're going to absolutely have to do, once enough Jedi figures have been released, do an Order 66 custom game where it's just clones on one side, just Jedi units on the other. Maybe you have 5 commanders and 3 operatives or something. Just make sure the points balance out.
Yeah.
And go to town.
It's like just Ki Adamundi surrounded by a bunch of clones.
I suppose you would
on a bridge, and
I suppose you would put Anakin on the clone side.
Yeah. I suppose that means we'll finally get to see actual galactic Marines instead of people just painting their snowtroopers up like that.
Yeah. I wonder if when we get to Phase 2, guys, because with Sabine, we're getting alternate heads. With Grievous, we're getting alternate everything. Now that we're getting all this great stuff on sprues, I wonder if we'll get all these different alternate heads for the Phase 2 guys, because a lot of the ones you see in Revenge of the Sith during the Order 66 scene have kind of custom helmets that are, slightly different. That would be real cool if you could do that, especially for your leaders. I doubt that we'll get commander units that are, even though they're called Commander Cody and Commander Bly and Commander Gree, I don't think we'll ever get individual miniature expansions for those clone commanders. Maybe.
Do you think we would get one for Rex? He's more well known.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Rex or Cody possibly, but
yeah. And this is funny that there's a plethora of characters whose name includes the word commander, and it seems unlikely that they'll ever be released as commanders.
But I could see them maybe as unique squad upgrade guys, like how we have Bistan, stuff like that,
Yeah,
Ooh,
that could be cool.
That would actually be kind of cool. Would be a clone commander pack that comes with Cody and Rex and Wolf, and
I think Rex deserves his own operative or commander expansion. The rest of those guys could be in a 6 figure pack.
But I could see it being like is Rex an ARC trooper technically?
Nope.
No? Okay. Well, I don't know. I could see like one of them coming with a Phase 2 squad and one of them coming with a ARC trooper squad, something like that, you know?
I'm sure whenever we get Rex, you'll have the option of giving him a Phase 1 helmet or his Phase 2 helmet. I don't know if you ever noticed. His Phase 2 helmet's actually a kit bash of a Phase 2 helmet and a Phase 1 helmet. His visor is Phase 1. You can like see like the weld lines where he made his custom helmet.
I did not.
Now you can go look and be like, oh, never noticed that.
That's a thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited. And I'm really excited for this stuff.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I think we all agreed earlier that probably the most problematic thing will just be hearing everybody say Roger, Roger 10 times a minute when they're playing.
Yeah. That's better than the problematic things you'll probably have to hear once the sequel factions come out.
Also, people playing with Obi-Wan and Grievous are just going to be saying, hello there, General Kenobi, over and over and over.
Or coughing a lot.
Oh, that's not bad. I like spamming the cough emote for Grievous in Battlefront. Okay, before we wrap up, what's your one wish list item for Legion as a mini that maybe isn't so obvious? Something that, it's probably not... you don't know if it's going to come out or not. Pick one thing. Go.
D-Squad.
I also picked that.
Ha! Yeah!
I don't know. I have no idea. I think we've already listed every unit.
Doesn't have to be Clone Wars. Just anything in Star Wars that you'd want in Legion.
Lothcats.
Joe was supposed to go, I also picked that.
No, I already picked D-Squad. Kurt, now you're obligated to keep going in the Clone Wars so you can watch the episodes about D-Squad, and I think you'll either love them or hate them more than any of the ones you've seen so far. And it's going to be nowhere in between.
We'll see.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, that is the only way you can feel about D-Squad is either you think that they are amazing or you just watch them saying, what the f*** is this shit the whole time?
Which I think most people did. I love those episodes.
I actually really liked them. And actually, like, the end is actually, I think, kind of like a kind of emotional, powerful ending to it.
Yeah, they're great. And I think it kind of just came out of, like, George Lucas said, can we do an existential crisis about a bunch of characters that can't really speak real words? And they did, and I think it worked. And there's a funny joke about suicide.
Big D-Squad energy. I don't know. We'll see. Is that a joke? We'll see how many more episodes I even get to, since apparently it's about to be dropped off of Netflix. Otherwise, I'm sure I would get to it within a few years, but I've got a pretty short deadline now.
Well, you better go keep watching after we
see. So you're not going to get to like some of the better episodes. See, instead of skipping the end of the series, you should have done like me. I just skipped tons of episodes in the middle of the series because I would watch like the first like 10 minutes of an episode and be like, fuck it, next. I ain't sitting through this whole thing.
Do we do an outro ever? No, we usually just do what we're doing right now.
Yeah, where we just sort of ramble on until we're done. I think that was it. That was our outro.
That was it, or is this it?
This is it. This is what's playing as it fades out and the music starts out.
Kurt, give us the final word, and then I'm hitting stop.
The Clone Wars is going to be cool.
That was a couple words, but okay.
Goodbye.
welcome, people who listen to this right now, to... Oh, man. You know what? I just realized...
We're the Jodo cast.
No, I know that. But what I just realized, first of all, you might have noticed that Evan is gone. I'm going to go ahead and call this episode, unless there's some kind of disagreement, 99.5. Because I just realized this is our 100th episode of the main show.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
99 just came out.
Oh, was that 99?
Yep. And I don't know if this is this episode 100? Are we doing episode 100 without Evan and kind of the seat of the pants?
No, I thought that one was 98, dude.
I just edited it and put it out there. It's 99.
Fine, whatever.
Unless I real bad.
No, the latest one on the feed's 99.
But what about the one before that? Yeah, 98 was the one about LucasArts.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 99 point. This is Adepticon special.
Okay.
This doesn't count as a real episode.
I'm gonna just start over.
Oh, we're not gonna leave all that pointless.
Well, we were for a while, but then it dragged on longer than I thought it was gonna.